What you doing over there? Ramadan?
Yeah, preparation for Ramadan.
You want to tell them brothers how to start the fast?
No, I'm pretty sure they already know how to start fasting. They know.
You know that? No, I don't mean them specifically. I'm talking about people in general that you know. Not a lot of people eat after Fajr.
Wow, that's interesting.
You can explain that. You can start there. Man.
I don't even know how you even respond to something like that,
They
man.
do. I see it on Facebook every year, every Ramadan.
You eat after Fajr?
People be eating after Fajr. They be like, yeah, I just had, I just prayed. I'm about to have this sahur. Yeah.
I think is part a lack of knowledge and part just a lack of spiritual connection, because if you connected spiritually, you're concerned about how you approach things from a religious perspective. I mean, that's just my take on it. You know what I mean?
I ain't used to know that though. So somebody actually said
I honestly I didn't know that.
That you couldn't eat after Fajr.
From what I was told, it's permissible until the sun rises.
Okay, sunrise meaning until the dawn breaks.
Yeah.
The dawn breaks at Fajr. You understand? It's not like when the sun is fully in the sky. Nothing is happening when the sun is full.
That cusp of the blue line or whatever.
Right.
as people go outside, they look in the air for the line.
There than the Fajr is
I know.
is the distinguishing.
People don't be knowing. Y'all gotta explain that. I told that meeting the same thing. So you gotta get on.
No, the problem is not that the information is not out there. The information is there. Like if you seriously interested in doing things the right way, it's just like doing anything. If you want to approach something the right way, you're gonna go get the information that you need to do it. Why is your religious practices any different than that? And I just think that people approach Muslims in specific, I think that they approach religion in a way that is very nonchalant, very callous. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going into a business, I'm sure like when you decided to open up this place, mm-hmm. you didn't like half-ass it. You know what I mean? Like you went and you did your research, you found out, because you're looking at the risks, the loss. I want to know what I'm losing if I do it the wrong way. And why isn't the approach to religion the same way? What are you losing if you do it the wrong way? You know what I mean? Like, and I think you stand more to lose doing it the wrong way from a spiritual standpoint than from any other perspective.
I agree with you. Here's a problem for me. Right? I don't think a lot of people know where to go. Because I didn't know. I was practicing Deen incorrectly for mad long. Until somebody actually sat me down and taught me fiqh. I didn't know none of that stuff.
Right.
Because I was, like I said, I was doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe like the first 5 years of me being Muslim, I didn't know nobody. Because nobody, even then, the imam never like, taught that stuff then. You know what I mean? It was more like, I was on Google. You know what I mean? I was on Islamic Q&A and all them, and you would read different things. I didn't know no better.
Yeah, I mean, but with the, the increase in technology, the advancements in technology, you have YouTube videos, you have podcasts, you have so much, you have a plethora of information available for anybody who's really serious about.
Nah, but you got some people who, like myself, who learn Islam in confined spaces.
Uh-huh.
So the resources to get the knowledge is not available.
Right, it's limited. Right.
So it's like you go all this time learning it this way, and then come to find out everything you learned was either false or slightly off.
Well, I mean that's something that is inescapable. Especially when you're learning Islam in confined spaces, whether incarceration or in other places where your access to information is limited. You have to leave room that, I'm was once incarcerated myself. I memorized the whole Surah Al-Baqarah, the longest surah in the Quran, in prison. And much of it was incorrect because I didn't have a teacher to teach me tajweed and the rules of the ahkam of qira'ah. So when I got to the Islamic University, I thought, I memorized Surah Al-Baqarah, I memorized the last juz of the Quran. So I'm really thinking like I got something until I sat down with a Quran teacher in my neighborhood where I moved to. And he stopped me at A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. And I'm just like, he's like, go ahead, recite. So I'm like, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. He's like, stop. He said, A'udhu. I'm like, but that's what I said. He said, no, that's not what you said. And then, I mean, like from there, I'm just like, all right, so what are you telling me? He's like, your whole Al-Fatiha is incorrect. You got the gist of it. You did a pretty good job for somebody, who converted to Islam, but you need to sit with somebody and that begin a journey. I'm literally sitting in Quran class with children that are my son's age, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I'm an adult thinking that when you're learning Islam in confined spaces, you have to leave room that, your access to authentic information, not authentic information, your access to authentic understanding of information, because the information is there. That's not the problem. You go to any prison in the state of New Jersey, you're going to find libraries, books, you're going to find information. The information is there, but the vast majority of the people who are carrying that information, whether in books or things that they've memorized, the understanding of that information, that's what's problematic. Just because you've learned something doesn't mean that you have the capacity or you have the ability to convey it to somebody else in a way where that understanding remains intact. That becomes, so there becomes a loss, a break in the translation. So I might have sat at the feet of this particular knowledgeable brother. I learned it and he conveyed it to me correctly. However, in my ability to convey it to you, something kind of gets lost in translation. So by the time it gets to you or to the person after you, by the time it gets to the third or fourth person after me, it's a completely different understanding. And that's the problem. So it's not the information. The information is there. It's the understanding of the information, because then, everybody, this is where, a lack of sincerity, I'm never one to judge anybody's intention, but a lack of sincerity kind of creeps in to that. And, people want to sound knowledgeable. People want the accolades. People want to seem intelligent. And so they start adding their own little understanding. And then by the time it gets to the third, fourth person down the line, it's a completely different. The information is still there, but the understanding of it is completely warped, And so that, so then that sets you off on a journey once you're no longer confined to those spaces to now let me seek out the correct understanding of this information. Let me go back and let me contrast, to what I've learned here. As the scholars, they have a saying, if you learn from one particular scholar your whole entire life, you'll never know the difference between what is authentic and what is not authentic, because you're only receiving it from one source. The only way that you know whether the information that you have is actually authentic or correct is to cross-reference it with somebody else, and then and only then will you find out, okay, this sheikh, he taught me something that was incorrect. But if you're constantly receiving it from one particular source, you'll never know whether that information is correct or not. They have a line of poetry that says, kullu insanin bi abihi mu'jiba, that every individual is amazed with his own father. Meaning, when you are learning from your father, you don't see anybody else. You're getting it from that one source, but that doesn't mean that the source that you're taking from is always going to be correct. We're humans, we make mistakes. So it's very dangerous to say, oh, I only take from this particular sheikh or this particular scholar. That's dangerous. It's comforting for you because you can say, well, I know this person. The familiarity. I know this particular scholar or I know this sheikh, but that doesn't always mean like he's not infallible. Like infallibility is only for prophets and messengers, not for human beings.